Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Anubha Rohatgi, and with me is VC Pramod with the Midday News. The headlines. All preparations in place for single-phase assembly elections in Goa and Uttarakhand, and the second-phase polling in Uttar Pradesh tomorrow. Nationwide COVID vaccination drive crosses 172 crore 81 lakh mark. Schools and colleges reopening in several states from tomorrow in view of declining COVID cases. An under-construction tunnel of the Bargi Canal project collapses in Katni district of Madhya Pradesh. 7 of the 9 trapped labourers rescued. Afghanistan ambassador to India Farid Mahmoodzai in an exclusive interview to AIR says terrorism in Afghanistan is not homegrown but an imported phenomenon. World Radio Day being celebrated across the globe today. 7-hour-long talkathon organized by All India Radio to end at 4 p.m. today. Director General AIR N. Venudhar Reddy says AIR has preserved its credibility over the decades. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar embarks on a 3-day visit to Philippines. And Jaisalmer Desert Festival begins in Rajasthan. With the new Omicron variant of coronavirus causing concern, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant and to get fully vaccinated and help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, to get vaccinated. Please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011 2397 8046 and 1075. And now the news. All preparations are in place for the single-phase assembly elections in Goa and Uttarakhand and the second-phase polling in Uttar Pradesh tomorrow. The Election Commission has made elaborate arrangements for free, fair, transparent and COVID-safe elections in the state. In Uttarakhand, voting will be held for 70 assembly seats at 11,647 polling booths tomorrow. Out of over 81,72,000 general voters in the state, more than 42,38,000 are male voters, over 39,32,000 are female, and 288 are third-gender voters. The remotest polling station in the state is Dangotha polling booth in Chakrata Assembly constituency, which is 250 kilometers away from the district headquarters. Polling parties have left district headquarters for polling booths in far-flung areas which are 5 to 20 kilometers away from the nearest road. In Goa, voting will be held in 40 constituencies. Over 11,64,000 voters will decide the electoral fortune of 301 candidates, including 82 independents. Polling parties have been instructed to reach their respective polling stations before evening. Unvaccinated polling agents will need to produce RT-PCR negative report to enter polling stations. Polling officials have been instructed to strictly follow COVID protocol. Section 144 has been imposed in the state till 6 p.m. tomorrow. Inter-district borders in the state have been sealed. Strict vigil is being maintained along state border areas of Maharashtra and Karnataka. Additional security forces have been deployed in sensitive areas of North and South Goa. Liquor shops across the state have been closed in view of polling tomorrow. Talking to AIR News, State Chief Electoral Officer Mr. Kunal said elaborate arrangements have been made to ensure free and fair elections in Goa.
गोवा में हमारे 40 विधानसभा क्षेत्र हैं और इसमें कोविड निर्देश को ध्यान में रखते हुए हमने हर बूथ पे 1000 वोटर का लिंक रखा है और उसके लिए हमने पिछले विधानसभा चुनावों से अति ज्यादा मतदान केंद्र बनाए हैं। इस बार हमारे पास कुल 1722 मतदान केंद्र हैं। उसमें भी हम ये बताना चाहेंगे तो 5 मतदान केंद्र महिला अफसरों द्वारा संचालित किए जाएंगे, 8 मतदान केंद्र दिव्यांग अफसरों द्वारा संचालित किए जाएंगे, 40 मॉडल पोलिंग स्टेशन होंगे और 11 पोलिंग स्टेशन को हमने पूरे इको फ्रेंडली तरीके से सजाया प्रयास सब आ रहा है। इस बार हमारे जो वोटर हैं उनको बिल्कुल ही एक सुखद अनुभव मिलने वाला है। और इस बार हमने अपने चुनाव में इको फ्रेंडली मटेरियल हमने काफी यूज किया है, जैसे जो बैम्बू बांस की बनी हुई है हमने बिन लिए हैं, बेल्स लिए हैं, पेपर पेंसिल लिया है, पेपर पेन लिया है और हमने कोकोनट शेल के बने हुए पेपर वेट लिए हैं। इस तरह हमारा प्रयास रहा है कि चुनाव में नॉन बायोडिग्रेडेबल मटेरियल है उनका हम कम से कम इस्तेमाल करें।
Uttar Pradesh will hold the second phase of voting in 55 assembly constituencies across 9 districts tomorrow. Polling parties have been dispatched to their respective centres to conduct free, fair and corona-free polling. The state is going to polls in 7 phases. Over 60% voter turnout was recorded in the first phase of assembly election held on 10th of this month across 58 assembly constituencies in 11 districts of the state. In poll-bound Uttar Pradesh, the high-pitched electoral campaign is in full swing for the third of the 7-phase assembly elections and single-phase polls in Punjab. The intense poll campaign is being conducted through public contact programs on the Super Sunday today. The state star campaigners and prominent leaders of various political parties are engaged in public rallies. Door-to-door canvassing and virtual appeals to woo the voters also continue. Political activities are also picking up in Manipur, with different party leaders deliberating in marathon meetings to finalize their electoral strategies and formations. The third phase of polling in Uttar Pradesh will be conducted on the 20th of February in 59 assembly constituencies across 16 districts. In addition, the single-phase polling in Punjab will be held simultaneously. 117 assembly constituencies in the state will go to polls together in this phase.
In view of the decline in COVID-19 cases, the Election Commission has relaxed the provisions of campaigning in the poll-bound states. In a press release, the Commission said that the ban on campaign timings in poll-bound states will be between 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. instead of the earlier 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Political parties and candidates may campaign from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. by following COVID-appropriate behavior and protocols of the State Disaster Management Authority. The Election Commission further added that political parties and candidates are now permitted to hold their meetings and rallies up to a maximum of 50% of the capacity of the designated open spaces or the limit prescribed by the State Disaster Management Authority. In the upcoming first phase polls of the 12th general elections to Manipur Legislative Assembly, 24 out of the 55 candidates in Imphal West districts are first-time candidates. Imphal West district has 13 assembly constituencies, and voting for these assembly constituencies will be held on February 28th as part of the Phase 1. Among the assembly constituencies, a Sekhmai SC assembly constituency has recorded the highest number of candidates. A report.
26-year-old Ningthokjom Popilan Singh from Sekhmai Assembly constituency is the youngest candidate in Imphal West district, while the veteran politician Okram Joy Singh of INC from Langthavan Assembly constituency is oldest at 80 years in the district. Out of the 55 candidates, 5 candidates are under 35 years of age, while 2 are above 75 years. Independent candidate from Kaishamthong Assembly constituency, Sapam Nishikanta, who is the publisher of Sangai Express newspaper, is the richest candidate in the fray from Imphal West, while the youngest candidate of the district, Ningthokjom Popilan, is the poorest candidate as per his affidavit. JJ Thoksom, AIR News, Imphal.
More than 172 crore 81 lakh COVID vaccine doses have been administered under the nationwide vaccination drive so far. The Health Ministry said over 49 lakh 16,000 doses were administered yesterday. Over 44,000 new cases were recorded in the last 24 hours, and more than 1 lakh 17,000 recoveries were recorded during the same period. The recovery rate stands at 97.55%. 684 deaths were reported in the last 24 hours. The Tamil Nadu government has decided to reopen nursery and play schools from Thursday, 16th February. The government has also allowed trade fairs and increased the number of people attending weddings from 100 to 200 and funerals from 50 to 100. The state government said that COVID protocols have to be followed at all events. Meanwhile, in Uttar Pradesh, in view of the declining trend in COVID-19 cases, the state government has decided to reopen all schools from tomorrow. In Kerala, schools, kindergartens and Anganwadis will reopen tomorrow as the third wave COVID transmission continues to decline. Regular classes in standards 1 to 9 will restart in different batches and end by noon in adherence to COVID-19 protocols. The weekend lockdown imposed on 2 occasions on recent Sundays has also been lifted. In Bihar, all COVID-19 related restrictions will be lifted from tomorrow in view of significant decline in COVID-19 surge in the state. The decision was taken yesterday in the meeting of the Crisis Management Group, CMG, chaired by Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. The CMG reviewed the situation of pandemic in the state. Briefing media about decisions taken in the CMG meeting, Secretary of Home Department Jitendra Srivastava said that all schools, colleges, coaching institutes have been allowed to operate with full attendance.
In Madhya Pradesh, 9 labourers were trapped after an under-construction underground tunnel of the Bargi Canal project caved in Katni district. 7 of the 9 labourers have been rescued so far. The rescue operation by teams of Narmada Valley Development Authority and the State Disaster Emergency Response Force is underway to safely evacuate the remaining labourers.
The government has approved 26,275 crore rupees central financial outlay from 2021-22 to 2025-26 for modernization of police forces. Home Minister Amit Shah has been taking the initiative to modernize and improve the functioning of police forces of states and union territories under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The umbrella scheme of modernization of police forces, MPF, comprises all relevant sub-schemes that contribute to modernization and improvement. Provision has been made under the scheme for internal security, law and order, adoption of modern technology by police, assisting states for narcotics control and strengthening the criminal justice system by developing a robust forensic setup in the country. The scheme for modernization of state police forces has a central outlay of 4,846 crore rupees. Our correspondent reports to develop operationally independent, high-quality forensic sciences facilities in states and union territories for aiding scientific and timely investigation through modernization of resources. A central scheme for modernization of forensic capacities with outlay of over 2,080 crore rupees has been approved. A central outlay of 18,839 crore rupees has been earmarked for security-related expenditure for Jammu and Kashmir, insurgency-affected northeastern states and left-wing extremism-affected areas.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. All preparations in place for single-phase assembly elections in Goa and Uttarakhand and the second phase polling in Uttar Pradesh tomorrow. Nationwide COVID vaccination drive crosses 172 crore 81 lakh mark. Schools and colleges reopening in several states from tomorrow in view of declining COVID cases. An under-construction tunnel of the Bargi Canal project collapses in Katni district of Madhya Pradesh. 7 of the 9 trapped labourers rescued. Afghanistan ambassador to India, Farid Mamunzai, in an exclusive interview to AIR says terrorism in Afghanistan is not homegrown but an imported phenomenon. World Radio Day being celebrated across the globe today. 7-hour-long talkathon organized by All India Radio to end at 4 p.m. today. Director General AIR N. Venudhar Reddy says AIR has preserved its credibility over the decades. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar embarks on a 3-day visit to the Philippines. And Jaisalmer Desert Festival begins in Rajasthan. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Welcome back to the Midday News. Ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan to India, Farid Mamunzai, has warned the global community of the dangers of terrorism. In an exclusive interview to All India Radio, he said that terrorism in Afghanistan is not a homegrown phenomenon, rather an imported one.
terrorism is not a homegrown phenomena in Afghanistan. It has been an imported phenomena in our country. This is important. Terrorism doesn't only threaten the way we live or to our lives, but terrorism is a serious danger to regional stability and regional security. And also, it is a threat to the security and stability of countries beyond this region. So, core of the issue here is again having a government in place which is accountable, which is transparent. And that accountability and transparency would only be possible when there is inclusivity. Once we have an inclusive government, there would be balance and checks. And after ensuring those balances and checks, we can ensure that there is no presence of foreign fighters. Afghanistan soil is then made sure that it is not used against any country in the region.
On the occasion of World Radio Day today, Mr. Mamundzai fondly remembered his growing up years and his connection with Akashvani. He praised All India Radio in its endeavour to connect the two nations through a unique way and hoped that All India Radio will continue to give its time and attention to the Afghan audience.
While growing up back in the 90s, early 90s or late 80s, we used to hear a word, Akashvani. So there used to be announcement at that time that, yeah, Akashvani. And we sometimes thought that this is Akashvani is a person. It was this visit today to All India Radio, to the studio. There's a history of almost 30 years behind it. And I'm very thrilled, very pleased to eventually come here together with a member of my family. Doubling the time of both our languages, Pashto and Dari, is something that has been welcomed by many people that I have spoken to. Like I said earlier, that India holds a special place in our hearts and minds. We would want greater India's involvement, not only in the political spectrum of our lives, but also in the entertainment, news, current affairs. India has been a strategic partner, as we discussed earlier.
The News Services Division of All India Radio will bring an exclusive interview in English tonight with Farid Mamundzai on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 9:30 p.m. onwards.
World Radio Day is being celebrated today across the globe. The World Radio Day is observed every year on the 13th of February to stress the importance of radio. It is also a day to remember the unique power of radio, which touches lives and brings people together from every corner of the globe. On the occasion, AIR Delhi is broadcasting a 7-hour talkathon on its FM Rainbow channel from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. today. As part of the talkathon, All India Radio organized a half-an-hour open forum this morning on FM Rainbow, during which Principal Director General of All India Radio N. Venudhar Reddy interacted with the listeners on the topic Credibility of All India Radio.
Best wishes to all our listeners on World Radio Day today. For the past 90 years or more, All India Radio has been striving to give entertainment, education and information to our listeners, and it has been a part of their lives for a long time now. We request all our listeners to give their feedback to us so that we redefine ourselves every day to become more relevant to their lives.
Mr. Reddy said that AIR has kept its credibility for decades, and the credit for it goes to generations of broadcasters, people behind the mic, as well as those who worked on the desk for preparing news bulletins and different types of programs. He said in January this year, international news organization Reuters held a survey on credibility of media organizations, and AIR was on top of the survey. He said during the pandemic, AIR broadcast credible and reliable information and also the advice of qualified doctors in different languages every day. Participating in the talkathon, Additional Director General News, Dr. Atul Kumar Tiwari, said AIR has kept the trust of the people and connect with them through its credible broadcast. He said earlier AIR was on medium wave and shortwave, and now it is available in many digital platforms like mobile app, YouTube, Twitter and podcast. Tomorrow there will be an open house session with Prasar Bharati CEO Shashi Shekhar Vempati from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. which will be repeated between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. on the same day. To connect with the CEO in open house, listeners may send their request through WhatsApp number 9868107070 or can dial toll-free telephone number 1800-111-026. These programs can be also heard on Akashvani AIR YouTube channel. There are a lot of people in the country who not only trust radio but also rely on it for the consumption of news and for entertainment purposes. On the occasion of World Radio Day, our listener, Mr. Zotan Kunga from Aizawl in Mizoram, shared his memories of All India Radio.
My name is Dr. Sangzela. I'm engineer. All India Radio has been our staple for as long as I can remember. My father would tune in for the news from early morning and is a window for us to get to know about the happenings around the world. Today, FM has brought me the news, the music, the latest songs in my car on my way to my office and while driving back. Thanks to All India Radio and my best wishes.
The Indian ambassador to Madagascar and to Comoros, Abhay Kumar, said he is an ardent listener of AIR.
My name is Abhay Kumar. I'm India's ambassador to Madagascar and Comoros. I wish everyone today a very happy World Radio Day. I grew up listening to radio and I still listen to radio. It is such a joy to listen to songs, news and other programs. Radio is a complete set in itself which brings so much of joy to our lives. I would recommend everyone to listen to radio. These days, radio is available on internet as well, and one can listen to the radio all across the world, wherever one is.
The External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, is reaching Philippines today on a 3-day official visit. This will be his first visit to Philippines as External Affairs Minister. Dr. Jaishankar will hold talks with his counterpart, Teodoro L. Locsin Jr., the Secretary of Foreign Affairs of Philippines. The ministers will review developments in bilateral relations. Dr. Jaishankar will also interact with the Indian community in Manila. As our nation celebrates the 75th year of independence, a series of events are being organized by the government as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. To commemorate the occasion as a Jan Utsav, All India Radio News brings its listeners a special quiz on India's freedom movement and its glorious history. This quiz is being conducted every Monday and Tuesday in morning news. And now let us listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
Budhu, Bhagat, Bhagwan hai,
13 February is the death anniversary of the freedom fighter Budhu Bhagat. Budhu Bhagat was born on 17 February 1792 in Silagai village of Ranchi district. He was the leader of Cold Rebellion of 1831-32 in the region of Chota Nagpur Plateau. The revolt is also known by the name of the Larka movement.
During the Cold Rebellion, Budhu Bhagat led the Coals against the local zamindars who were loyal to the British. He also wanted to protect the forest resources. During the rebellion, the British soldiers killed the innocent people indiscriminately. Elderly people, women and even children were not spared by the British. To save people, Budhu Bhagat jumped into the fight against the British with his two sons, Haldhar and Giridhar. Budhu fought valiantly, but he was surrounded by the British army, which was led by Captain Impey.
He knew that the merciless British army will shoot all the innocent villagers. Thus, to save the people, Budhu proposed surrender. However, the brutal English officer ordered the army to fire upon them, and the brave leader of the people was martyred on February 13, 1832. AIR News salutes the brave son of the soil.
What my country says to you, it says in the words of the old Hindu prayer that rises up in every home, night after night. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace.
13 February 1879 is also the birth anniversary of the Nightingale of India, Sarojini Naidu. Born in a Bengali family in Hyderabad, her maiden name was Sarojini Chattopadhyay. She was educated in Madras, London and Cambridge. After some experience in the suffragist campaign in England, she was drawn to the Indian independence movement. She returned to Hyderabad in 1898. That same year, she was married to Govindarajalu Naidu.
She participated actively in the non-cooperation movement in the 1920s. In 1924, Sarojini Naidu travelled to Eastern Africa and South Africa to gather support for Indian independence. In 1925, she became the first Indian woman president of the National Congress. She toured North America to raise awareness about the Indian freedom struggle from 1928 till 1929. Back in India, her anti-British activity brought her a number of prison sentences from 1930 to 1943.
She accompanied Gandhi to London for the second Round Table Conference.
Speaking in the Constituent Assembly on 11 December 1946, Sarojini Naidu explained the importance of the Constitution of India and how it will empower the Indian people.
A charter that shall restore to our mother still in fetters, her rightful place as a torchbearer of liberty, of friendship, of love, of equity. And she who today still mourns in a house with its roof of snow and its walls of sea will rejoice, relighting her lamp of inspiration, so that once again in history she takes her rightful place, and she will be justified of her children, and her children will be justified of her.
Following India's independence from the British rule in 1947, Naidu was appointed as the governor of the United Provinces, present-day Uttar Pradesh, making her India's first woman governor. She remained in office until her death on 2nd March 1949.
Sarojini Naidu was also a prolific writer and poet. She began writing at the age of 12. Her first book of poems was published in London in 1905, titled The Golden Threshold. She is known for her vivid use of rich, sensory images in her writing and for her lush depictions of India. Her second and most strongly nationalist book of poems, The Bird of Time, was published in 1912. Her poem, The Gift of India, criticized the British Empire's exploitation of Indian mothers. Her collected poems have been published under the title The Sceptred Flute and the Feather of the Dawn. We salute the great daughter of the nation.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
Best wishes to all consumers for Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Hallmark ensures purity of gold. Always purchase hallmarked gold jewelry. For any consumer-related complaints, please contact National Consumer Helpline toll-free number 14404. Issued in public interest by Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India. Jago Grahak Jago.
In Rajasthan, February is the time of myriad colourful festivals and fairs. The royal land enjoys folk dance, music, heritage and various cultural festivities in this month. The world-famous Jaisalmer Desert Festival, also known as Maru Mahotsav of the Golden City, began at Pokhran today. The 4-day-long festival started with colourful grand procession followed by Miss Pokhran and Mr. Pokhran competitions.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. All preparations in place for single-phase assembly elections in Goa and Uttarakhand and the second-phase polling in Uttar Pradesh tomorrow. Nationwide COVID vaccination drive crosses 172 crore 81 lakh mark. An under-construction tunnel of the Bargi Canal project collapses in Katni district of Madhya Pradesh. 7 of the 9 trapped labourers rescued. Afghanistan ambassador to India Farid Mahmudzai says terrorism in Afghanistan is not homegrown but an imported phenomenon. World Radio Day being celebrated across the globe today. 7-hour-long talkathon organized by All India Radio to end at 4 p.m. today. Director General AIR N. Venudhar Reddy says AIR has preserved its credibility over the decades. And Jaisalmer Desert Festival begins in Rajasthan. And with that, we end the Midday News.